A lot of rumors have been circulating since the recent reveal of the Fallout Season 2 trailer. While a lot of these have led to some pretty cool fan theories, like a civil war between the Brotherhood of Steel and aftermath of the final battle for Hoover Dam, what has captured my attention has been speculation regarding the Wasteland's favorite faction of post-apocalyptic Roman slavers, the Legion. As a self-proclaimed expert on Caesar's Legion, and yes, I mean Caesar pronounced with a K in the proper Latin, I wanted to throw my 2 cents into the matter, discuss a few fan theories that I've encountered, and tell you a personal theory of mine in return. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of my trailer dissection, let's briefly touch on what the position of the various factions are as we encounter them in the game. To begin, let's start with the big 3, the New California Republic, Mr. House, and of course, Caesar's Legion. At the start of New Vegas, these 3 factions are all vying for power over the desolate ruins of the Mojave Wasteland. The NCR and Mr. House maintain a tentative and uneasy treaty against the alluring threat of the Legion at their doorstep. Caesar, a former citizen of the NCR, has fashioned his legion in the image of ancient Rome. For 35 years, Caesar has been conquering and assimilating tribes into this brutal warrior society, with the sole purpose of leading it west to conquer the New California Republic. Both the NCR and Legion control vast territory to the east and west of Vegas, with the NCR having full control over California, parts of Oregon, Nevada, and Baja. The Legion, on the other hand, controls all of Arizona and New Mexico, with parts of Utah and Colorado. Both factions clash on the Colorado River, with the occupancy of Hoover Dam being the main focus of each of the factions' military campaigns. Mr. House, a 200-year-old billionaire and sole savior of Las Vegas, sits between these 2 behemoths as they battle over this old world wall. However, Mr. House is not idle in this conflict. When the NCR first arrived in the Mojave, House ended his quiet seclusion that kept him idle for nearly 200 years. He proceeded to leverage his Securitrons to obtain and secure the Las Vegas Strip, striking deals with the tribes that inhabited the area in the process. It was from here that the 3 families were born. The Chairmen, who were gifted the Tops Casino, the Omertas, who received Gomorrah, and finally the White Glove Society, who went on to inhabit the Ultralux. With this new workforce and private army, Mr. House was able to gain enough power and control to prevent a total takeover of the Strip by the NCR. Since then, he has been building an economic empire off the wallets of soldiers and tourists of the Republic. His plans culminate when a courier arrives in the Mojave with a platinum poker chip, one that Mr. House commissioned before the war and contains within it the software necessary to upgrade his Securitrons from basic riot control to a full-fledged military, as well as to activate his vast army he has tucked away in a nearby bunker, one that just so happens to be located right under Caesar's feet. This isn't all, however, as Mr. House's right-hand man has plans to inherit his boss's new empire. Benny, the leader of the Chairmen, intercepts House's courier as he is en route to New Vegas, shooting him in the head and leaving him for dead just outside the town of Good Springs. With the platinum chip in hand, Benny heads back to the Tops, setting in motion the revenge plot that drives the narrative of Fallout New Vegas. Through the course of the game, the courier can follow one of these 4 paths to its conclusion. They can either assist the NCR with removing Mr. House and conquering the Legion, they can assist the Legion with removing Mr. House and conquering the NCR, they can assist Mr. House with removing the Legion and forcing the NCR into a crushing economic deal, or they can forsake the big 3 by removing them altogether and replacing Benny, leaving the Mojave to be run by a Securitron yes-man. All of these endings carry with them huge implications for the future of New Vegas and the greater Mojave region. By the time of the Fallout TV show, it's been 15 years since the courier walked the Mojave. While the game's ending is left entirely open-ended, we know some outcomes that have occurred with the players in the story. For instance, we know the NCR is still around, however in worse shape due to their capital having received a big old nuke to the face. We know from the trailer that the Legion still exists in some capacity. We know that Victor, one of House's Securitrons, is still online, and it appears that the Strip and Freeside have been wiped out to some extent. We also know that Novak somehow got a pool, which would have been really nice to have in the game so we could relax after kicking the crap out of the ghouls at the Repcon test site. Speaking of ghouls, these are very clearly the Kings, a gang of Elvis impersonators that were once one of the many tribes of New Vegas prior to the Strip's revitalization. After they refused to work for Mr. House, they were condemned to the outskirts, where they stumbled upon the King's School of Impersonation. It was here that they discovered what they saw as a deity that was worshipped in the pre-war times. Shortly after settling in this location, they devoted themselves to this Elvis persona and officially became the Kings we know and love. Over the years, the Kings gained enough power that they were able to exert total control over the area of Freeside, becoming the ruling power under the leadership of a man known only as the King. While it still remains unclear as to what happened to the Strip and its surrounding area, an unfortunate casualty appears to be the members of this once proud collective, with their members reduced to the agonizing fate of ghoulification, a bullet being their only mercy. With the exposition and world building out of the way, let's get into some fan theories. One I've seen a lot since this trailer dropped revolves around who won the second battle for Hoover Dam. A lot of fans have been speculating that it was the Legion, since they are not only shown in the trailer, but they are shown escorting Lucy into one of their camps, implying that the faction is still strong. Many have taken this to mean that they control all of the Mojave region and were the ultimate victors of the campaign. While I can't quite express just how badly I want this to be the canon series of events, I mean, just go watch my several videos on why I think Caesar's Legion always wins, after you finish this video of course, it's almost certainly not true. First of all, in either of the Legion endings, they not only conquer Hoover Dam, but go on to conquer the entirety of the New Vegas Strip. If Caesar survives, New Vegas becomes the shining jewel of his empire, the Legion's Rome. If Caesar dies, however, Lanius takes charge, he moves into the Strip as if it were a military target, which could explain the destruction we see, but would not explain the lack of Legion artifacts. Even if Lanius conquers and destroys it, the Legion still occupies it long term. There would have been things left behind: crucifixes, heads on pikes, Legion banners, maybe even war tents and uniformed soldiers. We see absolutely none of that in any of the scenes depicting the Strip. In addition to this, the ghoulified kings point to a greater tragedy that befell the Strip: radiation. Prior to the events of the TV show, the Mojave at large was free of radiation, with few exceptions being radioactive dump sites, a couple of craters from the few bombs that hit, and some gross pools of water. There was certainly no radiation anywhere near the Strip and Freeside. The presence of the followers of the Apocalypse in Freeside, a faction of doctors for those unaware, are also able and willing to treat anyone who has radiation poisoning, ultimately preventing mass ghoulification of the residents. I think whatever happened to the Strip wasn't the actions of the Legion. In fact, I don't believe the Legion ever laid foot beyond those walls. So if the Legion isn't the canon ending, what is? Another fan theory I've seen is that the house ending is the canon one. After all, the house always wins. And this would make sense with how the character of House has been built up in the show up to this point. In the first season, House was set up as one of the main instigators of the Great War, although I don't believe he actually went along with that plan given his opinion on the Great War during the events of the game. In the second trailer, we see House on his gilded throne speaking some lines that feel a lot like foreshadowing for the events of the show.
"'Cause I know everything."
With the presence of Victor, his Securitron who saves the life of the courier, and the main path of our protagonist leading them to the Lucky 38, this has led some to the conclusion that House is still alive, having survived the events of Fallout New Vegas. I think this theory has some real merit, especially considering the Fallout show's focus on the old world players and how they are still influencing the world today. Now it's time for my theory. I don't think any of the factions achieved their goals at the conclusion of Fallout New Vegas. We know from the first season of the Fallout TV show that the capital of the NCR was hit with a nuke right when the events of Fallout New Vegas were supposed to be taking place. And no, the fall of the NCR being in 2077 does not mean it was nuked in 2077. Clearly the arrow in the scene that points to the nuke means it occurred at a later date. So here's what I think happened. The NCR, Caesar's Legion, and Mr. House were all tied in a three-way deadlock, exhausting each other in this massive war effort. I believe the second battle for Hoover Dam happened. Legatus Lanius, seeing the West as a trap, pulled his forces from the dam. So too did the NCR after their capital was nuked. This left the Mojave largely under Mr. House's control. However, with increasing instability in the wake of the NCR's exodus from the region, Mr. House wasn't able to keep control. Without a Securitron army, the Strip fell eventually to some catastrophic event. Potential plots like the Omerta's hostile takeover attempt, one that always fails, mind you, could have occurred and contributed to the Strip's downfall. Without the revenue from the NCR, Mr. House was unable to rebuild, forcing him to return to long-term solitude to wait a more optimal opportunity to expand once again. The NCR returned to California, largely disillusioned with the Mojave campaign and reeling from the loss of their capital. The Legion maintained their positions occupying the southern Mojave, but turning their attention elsewhere for the time being. In the event that Caesar dies and leadership of the Legion falls to a new dictator, they might have disregarded the importance of Vegas altogether, as it was always something that was symbolically important to the original Caesar and him alone. Speaking of Lanius, one huge theory circulating at the moment is that the man featured with the laurel wreath is the legendary monster of the East himself. The main evidence used to support this theory is that the armor he is seen wearing is similar to that worn by Lanius in-game. While I like this fan theory, I don't think it's entirely accurate, and here's why. First, how is Lanius depicted in the game? Well, he's 7 feet tall, give or take, has long brown hair, a sick-ass mutton stache, and a face so scarred up that he chooses not only to wear a mask whenever in public, but also has his slaves blinded so that they can't see his face when his mask is off. Now, the man featured in this trailer, while we can't see his face, does not appear to resemble these features. First off, he's not wearing a helmet at all. He's bald with what appears to be light-colored roots, no facial hair sticking out to the side, and he appears considerably shorter than Lanius, at least from this camera angle. While the armor is a compelling piece of evidence, armor in this style has been awarded to successful Legion leaders in the past. Case in point, Gaius Magnus of Drywells, who dons the armor of the 87th tribe, fashioned nearly identical to that of Lanius. So no, I don't think this is the legendary Butcher in the flesh, and I don't think it's another legionary we see in the game. Not Caesar, not Wolpus, not Lucius, not even Lupa. I think this is an entirely new character created by the TV show writers, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. In the 15 years since the events of New Vegas, factions like the Brotherhood of Steel have seized power in lieu of the vacuum left in the wake of this massive war. We know the East Coast Brotherhood of Steel wins their conflict in the Commonwealth and expands west, as showcased by the Pridwin's appearance in Season 1 of the Fallout TV show. This could imply that other western factions of the Brotherhood joined the fold, such as the Mojave chapter, who was alive and well during the events of New Vegas. In addition to this, other Brotherhood chapters were still around in California as they gave blessing to elect Max and Elder in Fallout 4, implying a much larger Brotherhood coalition than what was previously believed. The scene depicted here with several Pridwin-esque aircraft battling each other could mean various things. As mentioned at the beginning of the video, fans believe that this is a Brotherhood civil war occurring. While that's a cool idea, I think it's more likely a coup from the Brotherhood chapter that we see in the first season. The Elder of this chapter clearly wants to take over the entire Brotherhood, reshaping it in his image, and I can't imagine Daddy Maxon would take too kindly to that. However, we'll have to see once the season drops. There are plenty more fan theories developing by the minute in the aftermath of this trailer. Some good, some bad, and some downright ugly. The ones I covered in this video are the biggest ones that have developed in the 24 hours following the trailer's release. Not to mention the ones I personally find the most compelling. What are some of your favorite theories? Did the Legion win the second battle for Hoover Dam and take over New Vegas? Is the guy featured as their leader really Legatus Lanius? What's going on with the Brotherhood? Drop them in the comments below, and until we meet next, Wale Amicus.